Robert Pattinson, Twilight. Let's start with the phenomenon that catapulted him to fame, but which he publicly refused to embrace, Robert Pattinson and his role as vampire Edward Cullen in the Twilight saga. Pattinson has never hidden his deeply skeptical attitude toward his character, regularly mocking Edward in interviews, which delighted some fans and puzzled others. He openly stated that he considers Edward rather strange, emotionally immature, and even toxic. In one of his most famous interviews, he joked, "If Edward weren't a vampire, he would definitely be arrested for stalking because his behavior is abnormal." Pattinson has often criticized the absurdity of the plot, the odd dialogue, and his character's accent, expressing a kind of protest against this commercial giant. The irony is that it was this role, which brought him worldwide recognition and enormous financial independence, that allowed him to later devote himself entirely to arthouse and independent cinema, ultimately leading him to the role of Batman. George Clooney, Batman and Robin. Next up is George Clooney, for whom the role of Batman turned into a veritable, years-long atonement. The 1997 film Batman and Robin was not just a box office failure, but also the target of harsh criticism, which Clooney bore personally. The actor has repeatedly openly admitted his guilt over the film, joking, "I killed Batman, and the industry still can't forgive me." He explained that the film was too cartoonish, his costume with the famous milk nipples was ridiculous, and the script didn't allow for a serious character development. Clooney said he was embarrassed to watch the film. He has apologized to fans numerous times for his work. Today, as an accomplished director and Oscar winner, he has learned to take the experience with humor, and you'll be hard-pressed to find an interview where he doesn't joke about his killer role as Batman, demonstrating his self-deprecating humor and acknowledging that even big stars have huge flops. Halle Berry, Catwoman. Next on our list is Halle Berry, who hasn't been shy about expressing her dismay at the film Catwoman. The 2004 film was a resounding flop, receiving scathing reviews from critics and audiences, and was a huge creative disappointment for Berry. Berry herself admitted that the script was terrible, and the film lacked any internal logic. When she won the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actress for this role, she not only attended the ceremony, which was already a brave move, but also famously uttered the line, "Thank you Warner Bros. For giving me the opportunity to star in the worst, simply the worst film of my career." She even brought an actual Oscar with her to compare it to the Raspberry Award, clearly demonstrating her career extremes. The film became a sad example of how, in Berry's opinion, major studios completely misunderstand female superhero characters. Channing Tatum, G.I. Joe. Channing Tatum didn't want to star in G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, and was forced to do so by his contract with Paramount Pictures. The actor never hid his utter disdain for the project, openly stating, "I hated that script. I hated that movie. I didn't want to do it." He felt the script was stupid, implausible, and didn't allow him to showcase his acting abilities, forcing him to simply run and gun. Tatum told the studio outright that he didn't want to do it, but legal obligations under his contract forced him to do so. Ultimately, the studio listened to his wishes, and his character was quickly written out of the sequel, much to his relief. This story shows how financial and legal obligations can force actors to take on projects they don't want to do. Alec Guinness, Star Wars. Even the legendary, respected stage and screen actor, Oscar winner Alec Guinness, couldn't stand his role in Star Wars. For him, the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi was just a way to make money. Guinness was far from science fiction, and kept diaries in which he constantly expressed his disdain for the film, calling the dialogue absolute garbage. What irritated him most was the reaction of fans. He said, "Kids think I actually live in space, and I can't answer letters anymore." Although he hated the franchise, it earned him millions, as he negotiated a percentage of the box office profits, making him a very rich man. The irony is that his character became one of the most iconic in cinema history, yet he despised it as childish nonsense. Daniel Craig, Spectre. Daniel Craig, arguably the most exhausted actor to ever play James Bond, openly expressed his weariness and anger after filming 007, Spectre. The reasons were numerous on-set injuries and colossal physical and emotional exhaustion, which he called too grueling. Craig angrily declared in an interview, "I'd rather slit my wrists than play Bond again." His face at the time expressed genuine anguish and a complete reluctance to return to the role. However, Hollywood is a business. Craig returned for a record-breaking fee for his final Bond film, No Time to Die, which gave his character final closure. Now he claims to be pleased with the ending of his Bond franchise, but his previous words clearly showed the price he paid for this iconic role. Mark Wahlberg, Boogie Nights. Paul Thomas Anderson's cult drama Boogie Nights was a breakthrough for Mark Wahlberg, but after filming, he would rather forget about it. The film, set in the world of adult films, in which Wahlberg played an aspiring actor, brought him acclaim, but he subsequently experienced a profound religious awakening. Afterward, Wahlberg began openly expressing regret, stating, "I pray that God forgives me for that film, because it was wrong." He considers the role a youthful mistake. It's an interesting and rare case of an actor's deeply held personal convictions conflicting with his iconic work, which many viewers still consider his best role, praising his bold performance. Megan Fox, Transformers. Megan Fox and her conflict with director Michael Bay during the filming of Transformers became legendary in Hollywood. Fox openly criticized Bay, comparing him to Hitler for his authoritarian and demanding work style, and also claimed that he treated her like an object. Her words caused a major scandal in the press. Bay responded by calling her ungrateful. As a result, she was fired from the franchise after the second film, setting a high-profile precedent. Although they later reconciled, and she starred in his project Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that period was extremely difficult for her. Now she wryly jokes about her participation in Transformers, admitting that it was a difficult but important stage in her career, teaching her to assert her boundaries. Shia LaBeouf, Indiana Jones 4. Shia LaBeouf himself admitted that he let down the legend with his performance in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The actor openly stated in an interview, "We did something stupid. We made a mistake in our approach, taking the blame for the film's failure." He believed the film didn't live up to the standard of the iconic franchise and was overloaded with special effects. His words drew the ire of Harrison Ford himself, who was extremely displeased with the criticism of their collaboration, publicly calling LaBeouf a moron. This incident vividly illustrated the contrast between a young actor striving for integrity and a Hollywood veteran who defends his legacy, even if the film fails. Kate Winslet, Titanic. Even Kate Winslet, the star of one of the highest-grossing and most beloved films of all time, can't stand watching herself in Titanic. She admits, "I can't stand watching myself. My acting is terrible. I tried too hard." The actress is unhappy with her American accent, which she says was too unrealistic, as well as the staging of some scenes, where she feels her performance was artificial. She often smiles sheepishly when recalling the film that brought her worldwide fame and an Oscar nomination. The irony is that audiences still consider her Rose one of the most sincere and poignant heroines in cinema history. Harrison Ford, Star Wars. Harrison Ford has always been one of the most outspoken actors in Hollywood, and his attitude toward Han Solo from Star Wars confirms this. He openly stated that he wanted his character to die back in the first trilogy. The reason was simple. Ford believed the character had exhausted his potential, and was tired of being associated only with Han Solo. He constantly insisted he should have died in the first trilogy. His arc was exhausted. Ultimately, he finally got his way in Star Wars The Force Awakens, where Han Solo tragically dies. Ford got the chance to say goodbye to the character who made him a star, but of whom he had grown so tired. Jim Carrey, Kick-Ass 2. Jim Carrey, the renowned comedian and actor, took an unprecedented step after filming Kick-Ass 2. He refused to promote the film due to its excessive violence. Carrey stated that after the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School, his attitude toward violence in film and in life had changed dramatically, and he could not support such content. He openly stated, "I can't promote this because my conscience cannot accept this level of violence." This action earned the respect of many, but it caused a conflict with the studio and may have impacted the film's box office. This was a rare case of an actor refusing to promote his already filmed project for profound moral reasons. Idris Elba, The Wire. Idris Elba, one of the most respected actors of his generation, played the iconic role of Stringer Bell on The Wire, considered one of television's greatest shows. However, the actor himself was dissatisfied with his character's portrayal and the show's social message. Elba believed that the series, while realistic, demonized black men, depicting them exclusively in a criminal and dysfunctional context. He expressed his concern, "I don't like the way it's portrayed. I'd like to see a broader range of stories." Although the role brought him worldwide fame, he now strives to avoid such portrayals, choosing more positive and multifaceted roles to change the perception of black characters on screen. Michelle Pfeiffer, Grease 2, was the first major project of her career, but also one of her most embarrassing memories. She openly admits that she was forced to star in it for the money, and she regrets the experience. The actress believed the script was terrible, and the film was a weak imitation of the original. In the High School Musical scenes, her smile often seemed unnatural and forced. Fortunately, Pfeiffer was able to break free from this category and become a cult actress. This experience taught her to be more selective in choosing roles, and she became an example of how even a bad start can't prevent talent from breaking through. Jamie Dornan, 50 Shades of Grey. Jamie Dornan, the lead actor in the erotic drama 50 Shades of Grey, never hid his discomfort with the commercially successful but critically panned project. The problem lay in the uncomfortable and overly intimate scenes, as well as the fact that he felt no connection with his character, Christian Grey. He often said that his personality and views were completely at odds with the character. "I have nothing in common with this person, and I don't understand him." His performance, which seemed constrained, became the subject of numerous memes and jokes. Despite this, the film brought him worldwide fame, but the actor immediately after the franchise began actively appearing in serious, independent projects. Brad Pitt, The Devil's Own. Even Brad Pitt, one of Hollywood's most sought-after actors, faced a project he openly hated, the 1997 film The Devil's Own. The reasons were a conflict with the director, constant script rewrites on the fly, and a lack of a clear vision for the project. Pitt openly stated, "The film fell apart before our eyes. It was a disaster," expressing his deep disappointment. He felt the entire filming process was chaotic and unprofessional, and that he had to literally make up his character on the fly. After this experience, he became much more careful in choosing projects and directors, trying to work only with those he completely trusted, which led him to found his own successful production company. Edward Norton, The Incredible Hulk. Edward Norton, known for his perfectionism and demanding scripts, encountered irreconcilable problems on the set of The Incredible Hulk. The cause lay in a fundamental conflict with Marvel Studios over creative control. Norton wanted to create a deep, dramatic hero struggling with his inner demons, but the studio wanted a product aimed at a mass audience and consistent with the cinematic universe. He openly stated, "I wanted to create a deep hero, but they wanted product, and they got it by cutting my vision." Ultimately, his version of the scenes was cut, and he was replaced by Mark Ruffalo in subsequent films. It was a high-profile case, demonstrating how the studio system can suppress an actor's vision if it doesn't fit their commercial plan. Jessica Alba, Fantastic Four. Closing out our tier list is Jessica Alba, who played the Invisible Woman in the film Fantastic Four. The actress admitted that she was extremely dissatisfied with the filming process and felt like an object rather than a creator. She was particularly irritated by how the director told her exactly how to cry, demanding unnatural, formulaic emotions from her instead of letting her act. She felt like a puppet, not an actress, and frankly stated, "I felt like a robot. I wasn't allowed to act." This experience left her so disillusioned with Hollywood that she gradually retired from big-time acting to focus on her family, and more importantly, to found her own successful business. Her story is a shining example of how creative exhaustion can lead an actor to a completely new path in life. Conclusion: these are stories that show that Hollywood's backstage isn't always as glamorous as the red carpet. Sometimes the most high-profile failures are simply a stepping stone to better roles, while other times, successful films leave a bitter taste of disappointment. The important thing is that all these actors, despite their disappointing experiences, were able to continue their careers and achieve success. Which of these stories surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so we can continue exploring the most unexpected sides of Hollywood. See you soon.